Hello, and thank you for joining us. My name is Donovan Linton from FlexKey, and here today I have with me Chris Marks from Parallels, who's a product manager. How are you doing today, Chris?
I'm really well, Donovan. Thanks. How are you?
I'm doing great. First, like to thank you for staying up late for me. I know it's a little later today over there in the UK.
Yeah, I'm old. 8 p.m. is late now.
Yeah, I feel that all the way to my core. I'm normally winding down as well. I typically put my son down early so that I can be in bed early along with him.
Not a bad move. Not a bad move at
Yeah.
all.
So I'm glad to have you on today, and I wanted to have you on so we can talk a little bit about Parallels, and who Parallels is, and what you guys do.
Yeah, well, Parallels as a company focus on application virtualization at all sorts of levels, from delivering applications from kind of server-based desktops that you might have on premises, from delivering applications out of AVD, AWS, natively in Azure, and we also are that company that is able to run Windows on a Mac. The only company that is approved by Microsoft to run Windows 11 on a Mac. And I'm
Yeah,
sure
I
that's
think that's
probably
probably
how
where most of the
everyone's heard of us
customers.
before.
Yeah, I think that's probably where a lot of our customers know Parallels from is knowing it on the Mac, but a lot of customers don't realize that you guys have been able to do some of these things for many years now, not just since
Sure.
COVID.
Yeah. Yeah. So Parallels acquired a company 9 years ago called 2X. And that allowed them to deliver application virtualization into remote Windows operating systems. And then we've moved forward from there. That product is called Parallels RAS.
hmm And also I think very important because it also means that the product is very mature. You know, we've seen a lot of companies pop up during the COVID timeframe and just try to offer a product as quick as they can. But you guys have been here and been offering this product for quite a bit.
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of the people I've worked with worked way before it was a Parallels product. A lot of these guys are there for the long term, and they're some of the original people in charge of the product. So it's been going a decent amount of
That is
time.
awesome. So with that, there's definitely been a lot of changes in the market over the past, say, 5 to 10 years. How have you guys viewed those changes, and what do you guys, how are you guys responding to those changes that are happening in the market?
Well, it's been a lot of change. Some of it is put upon us, right? We all know. I don't have to remind you. There's this thing called COVID that happened in 2019, 2020, and that made a massive difference to how employees got access to work data. Right, a load of people are at home. They're in different places. The security exposure changed rapidly for kind of organizations almost overnight.
Mhm.
In fact, actually overnight for a lot of organizations. Whereas I only had data in my office, now I had to distribute it down internet connections that I was unaware even existed
Yes.
before lockdown, all those kind of things. So, so the kind of work styles have changed to this kind of hybrid way of working. And at the same time, you've got the advent of cloud, and a lot of organizations have gone there for the right reasons. Some organizations have gone there for the wrong reasons. Some organizations, for whatever reason, are not going there, or they're in regulated environments, which means that some of the stuff could go, but some of the stuff can't go just yet. So we're seeing a small number of customers adopting public cloud fully, a small number of customers not doing it at all, but most customers kind of somewhere in the middle, right? They're doing what I would call cloud smart. At least I hope they're doing cloud smart these days. They're delivering stuff from a public cloud point of view, but they're also appreciating that some of this stuff maybe eventually could run in the public cloud, but right now, the best thing for their business, the best thing for their organization is to perhaps sit stuff on premises. For example, I got data in a hospital. Do I want to move all my patient records into the cloud? If I do, what happens if I lose access to that? How does the hospital function? Those kind of questions.
Yeah, that's great synopsis of the market. It is an ever changing market, especially with cloud and securing that data. So the data for most organizations extend way further than their data center today. So being able to deliver solutions to wherever the user are, and then we also have the SaaS part of it, where a lot of the applications have gone SaaS based as well.
100%. We're seeing a lot of shift to both SaaS and using a web browser as a point of access to multiple applications. So we're not seeing many organizations, it's a bit like the cloud statement, really. We're not seeing many organizations go fully, every single application is SaaS. But we're definitely seeing organizations move in that direction. Maybe not at rapid pace like it was with cloud adoption, but
Hmm.
absolutely SaaS apps. And that presents a different security challenge. I speak to a lot of customers about SaaS, and the guys at the kind of application level get it because they kind of know their nuts and bolts. But the guys a bit further up think if I'm delivering it through a web browser, that removes my need for security of the data inside the application. Whereas it's essentially often still exactly the same. All that's happened is the application provider has embedded their application inside a browser tab.
Hmm.
The data is still on that workstation. The data is still on the client. And then if that client has some security issue or whatever, I can still get the same data from a browser tab, just like I could from an installed application, right? So
Yes.
it's a changing landscape for sure. It's an interesting time to be in IT, right?
Yeah, definitely. So, from a Parallels perspective, what are some of the products that you guys are bringing to the market to kind of address these changes that we're seeing within the market?
Yeah, so I mean, we've got Parallels RAS, which we spoke about before, which is kind of what people would recognize in the market as a kind of VDI and application delivery solution. But to address the changes we just talked about, one is thinking about these organizations thrust into a world where I need to deliver applications remotely, but I didn't have an end user compute team. I didn't have a solution before, and now all of a sudden I'm having to deliver my applications remotely. Maybe they don't want an end user compute team. They don't want to learn a VDI solution, right? They don't want to go through that kind of change. So we released a product earlier this year called Parallels DaaS, and the entire focus of that product is around simplicity. Yeah. So am a customer. I get my applications. I put them on my golden image. I set, publish them to my users. Boom, done. There is no skill level from an end user computing required. We take care of everything. That is plumbed into Microsoft Azure, and you can run that in pretty much any Azure region you care to mention. So that is taking the I never needed EUC and now I do,
Hmm.
um, and really, really simplifying that end user solution. The other solution goes to the kind of SaaS comment you mentioned earlier on, Donovan. So that's a product called Parallels Browser Isolation. And what that does is it says, right, I want to give access to my users to these web-fronted applications, these SaaS applications, but I don't want the data on the machine. I don't want the application to be open on that desktop, either because I'm in a bring your own device solution,
Hmm.
or I've got some other reason, it's zero trust, right? I don't want to trust that device. So what can I do to not send any of that data down? And then the other thing is, on the flip side, I also want to secure the SaaS application. So I want to say, right, I want to make sure there's only one way in to this SaaS application, right? So let's take an administrator who wants to administrate the Azure console, for example. Anyone who has access to the Azure console has access to the entire world from an IT point of view. So I want to say, I'm not going to allow you to log directly into Azure and to put the Azure console on your laptop. I want this kind of middleman. I want a security blanket so that I know you're going in there and I know that's the only way you can get access
You
to
know.
this secure application. So Parallels browser isolation basically sits in the public cloud. It's a Chromium-based browser. The user connects to that Chromium-based browser. They don't really notice it so much because it's completely embedded inside their local browser. That Chromium-based browser then, from the public cloud, connects to their SaaS application.
Yeah. And I guess from a security perspective, once the user disconnect, what happens to that remote machine that they're connecting or running that browser from?
Yeah, so that is it's a container in a hardened Linux VM, right? So that container is completely destroyed. So as soon as I shut that browser window, that container is totally destroyed. I launch the application again, it gives me a completely fresh instance. So there's no remnant at all of the client side of that application being ever opened.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you're not worrying about that data potentially being saved locally on the user's device as well.
correct,
Yeah,
correct.
that is awesome.
It's possible to allow downloads, for example, but it's also possible to turn them off, right? So
To
it's
disable and also some of your other controls such as copy and paste and things of that nature.
yeah, for sure, and printing and those kind of things.
Yep. And so you spoke about two different products there, which is your Parallels DaaS, which is the remote hosted solution where you can publish desktops and apps, and also your your browser installation.
Yeah,
Uh, it's called many different things, and I think I was all trying to say them all at once.
easy for you to
Um,
say.
how do you guys bring those different products? And I know we also have your RAS product, which supports your traditional VDI infrastructure. How are you guys bringing all of those products together?
Well, particularly DaaS is kind of designed to be a simple one-click solution, right? But particularly with RAS and PBI, there's definite integration, and the integration is around the applications, right? So where we're moving to is a single point of consumption for the user, right? So they have a single set of applications. What is really annoying to a normal human, right, not an IT person, is when I come in on a Friday and I use the application and the icons here, and I come in on a Monday and use the
And it's
application.
over there.
Icons in a different place. It's a completely different application, whatever. What we're going for here is a set of icons that on a Friday that application might be on-prem, and on a Monday that application might be delivered via VDI or DaaS or it's a SaaS application. The administrator can change all of that stuff behind the scenes, but keep the icon the same. And they, in turn, could be doing it differently with each icon. So some of those icons are on-prem, some of those icons are delivered via SaaS, some of those icons might even be local on the user's local machine. So we've got use cases where some of these users need the local resources of the machine. So we see that's fine. Click on the same icon in the same list of all your other icons, and that is going to launch directly on your local machine, yeah, without needing any kind of remote connection completely. I mean, I can show you if you want. If
That'd be awesome because that user experience sounds really good. And as you know, we're called end user excellence, so we're all about the user experience and making sure that
yeah, I can
our customers know how to deliver a great user experience.
for sure. So I can give you. If any of your listeners, if you guys listening or watching want a proper demo, I'm not going to go through the whole product. I'm going to show you what the end user experience looks like, right?
Yes.
Now this is in Windows. I happen to be running on a MacBook, right? But we might get to that later. This is in Windows. So this window down here is the installed client, right? So a user could open this installed client and access the applications and see them in multiple views and all this kind of stuff, right? We're actually seeing companies kind of move away from that method of delivery a little bit, right, in favor often of the thing above, which is browser level access, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can still launch the installed client underneath via this exactly the same icons. You might notice they're all exactly the same because I'm logged in as the same person here, right?
Yes.
But they're using a browser to get there. A browser gives you a lot more leeway. I've got a little picture of Barcelona behind here. You know, I can start giving it a different look and feel. I can start broadcasting apps in different ways. Or equally, over here on the left-hand side, again, I've got exactly the same icons, but my administrator has said, put them on the desktop. Equally, the administrator could say, put them in your start menu. Okay. So this is really where the choice thing comes from that we said right at the beginning. Okay, so Parallels is all about delivering choice. We're not going to dictate to a customer where they need to run their apps. We're not going to say, we'll give you this license, but it's got to run in this location, for example. Okay. Um, we're gonna let you use the product, and it is entirely up to you where those applications run. Okay. Just to give you an example of what we said just a little while ago, most of these icons are launching a Parallels RAS session. So if I double click on that desktop, it'll open the desktop, right? It's nothing new there, right? But here, these two icons, they're not going to launch anything remotely at all. They are going to launch local applications that are literally sitting here on my local device. That is not initiating a remote connection. So what that means is, whoops, what the? Let me just refresh that page.
You didn't talk to the demo gods today.
Yeah, it always happens to me.
But that's actually really cool. And I think as you show the one use case here with Slack, but I think for a lot of other customers that are running things like remote software and video conferencing software such as Teams and Zoom, being able to kind of utilize the local resources of those locally on those devices without, say, having to publish it from your servers, your servers in the data center, and having the user being able to get that full experience by using the local version. But from an experience standpoint, they're going to the same interface to get their applications.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, and sometimes it's not even an interface. I know what's happened. My VM is shut down. 8 p.m. and my Azure VM is shut down. So give me a second, I'm dying out there.
But no, it makes complete sense, and also as you spoke about, um, from an administrator standpoint, like if today that application is local on that device, and you decide that you want to deliver it from the cloud and not having to manage the updates to the local device, you can update that icon and have that seamlessly happen for the user without them seeing much of a difference from the front end perspective or how that application is actually accessed.
Yeah, sure. And they can then see all the applications side by side, right? So the administrator is distributing like that. So the other icon, let me keep my fingers crossed and see if this little bad boy works. So I mentioned the Azure console earlier on. What this is doing, it's going to open a URL, but actually the URL is going to Parallels browser isolation, right? And then inside Parallels browser isolation, it's then breaking out to the Azure console. Okay, and I've turned watermarking on, as you can see. I've got a little notification to say it's a secure session, and it's actually got a little blue border around it. Okay, so this browser, I can go anywhere, do anything. This is my local browser. This is an embedded Chromium browser inside my local browser. Now, if I logged in, it would allow me to administrate Microsoft Azure and all this kind of stuff. But just to show you what PBI can do, Parallels Browser Isolation can do, if I try and navigate to somewhere my administrator has not allowed me, let's say to sign in with GitHub in this instance, it can also block me. So I have to just do this tunnel vision into the SaaS app that I've been designated as a user. The
And
watermarking
not
is also
browsing YouTube.
sorry, Donovan, say it again.
And not browsing YouTube.
Oh yeah, and not going out to whatever, right? I could stop certain locations, certain websites, and all that kind of stuff. But um, it's in addition to everything else we do. So the idea is you're giving the user one point of consumption, but actually you're accepting the fact that IT behind the scenes is actually quite complicated. As we said at the beginning, I've got some stuff in the public cloud, I've got some stuff that might still be on-prem, and I need to make that look coherent for this normal human that doesn't deal with all the IT stuff, that's not going to put up with the fact that you need to click on 5 different things to get your application. They don't want any of that. They want it to work like a mobile phone. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think this is also important because not all of those applications or web applications are actually in the cloud, right? Some of
Yeah,
them are
sure.
in the data center. So being able to publish those applications while reducing that zero trust infrastructure, like also plays directly into this and how we deliver those applications.
100%. 100%. So it's simplicity, it's choice, it's security. That's kind of what
Yeah.
we're all about.
Definitely, and I guess this is also a form of it. So you mentioned you're on the Mac, and I know Parallels, which you guys are probably make a lot of money from, which is your Parallels desktop as well, and that is actually just another form of delivering applications, right?
100%, 100%. So if I keep showing you some stuff, so people are used to looking at like a full desktop and all this kind of stuff, and I've got my Mac desktop here, and this is the Mac OS version of Chrome, right? But Parallels Desktop is way smarter than that, right? If I just show you, this might take a little bit of time, depends how many applications I've got open on my MacBook. But if I enter what's called coherence mode on my MacBook, that's exactly what it does. And what it does is it removes the Windows desktop, but it keeps the Windows apps. Now, bear in mind, this is local, okay? So now, right, I can still launch these Windows apps, but they're running side by side with my Mac apps, right? So I could have a Windows, in fact, can I open one? I can have a Windows version of Word sitting right next door to my Mac version of Word. Or if I take a developer use case, which is pretty strong with Parallels Desktop, I can start running development tools inside my Windows desktop that I don't have access to in Mac OS, right? I could run Visual Studio Code. I could
Mm-hmm.
consume AI delivery tools, and we've got a complete AI package for Parallels Desktop, side by side with my Mac apps. So it gives me the best of both worlds. I could do Linux the same, by the way. It doesn't have to be Windows.
Windows,
I
yeah.
could run Mac OS, Windows, and Linux all side by side.
Yeah, that's cool. So again, it's all just a way of delivering your application. So it shows that you guys have the full breadth of applications to wherever the user may be or whatever journey they're on. You guys have a way to actually deliver those applications to end users.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. I'm going to say it about
Yeah,
12 times, but it's about giving them the choice to do
yeah,
what they need to do.
and that's what we're all about too. Flexibility is key.
For sure. For sure.
And so what does the future hold for Parallels? Where do you guys going next?
Well, the future is, I guess, to bring things even more closely together. I've just shown you the fact that we can start running these applications together. What we're looking at is administrating them in the same way. So we've just released a console for Parallels Desktop Enterprise. So that is administered in the same way as Parallels Browser Isolation and Parallels Desktop as a Service. So we're looking at the same look and feel for these consoles. So the future is to bring these things closer and closer together. So you might have an administrator who is administrating multiple of these products, but they don't want to feel like they're in separate consoles to do it, right? I might have a Mac estate that I'm delivering Parallels Desktop to, but I also might be using PBI there as well. So the future is to continue down this simplicity road. That's definitely where we're headed. Where we're positioning Parallels DaaS, for example, is smack bang between, say, Microsoft AVD and Microsoft 365, right? Microsoft AVD, simple to use, non-persistent desktops, just to give you kind of an example.
Mm-hmm.
Microsoft 365, really, really simple to use, but persistent desktops.
Persistent desktops, yes.
But we're sitting here in the middle with Parallels DaaS. We're making it easy to use, like Windows 365, but we're going to be delivering it as non-persistent desktops, or at least you've got the option. So it's working with Microsoft. It's not saying, look, this is a better solution, this is a worse solution. It's basically saying, okay, those are the two solutions. We're working with Microsoft to deliver the solution ourselves, to deliver maybe a slightly different use case to those two. And those are the kind of futures we're looking at. We're looking at working with partners like Microsoft to give the best value and the best choice for our customers.
Yeah, and I think that's also important from when you start thinking about how you deliver those solutions, especially from a non-persistent desktop, because you're able to scale a lot easier and save money and cost from a company perspective.
Yeah, for sure. Particularly if I'm starting to run those non-persistent workloads in my own Azure
Tenant.
tenant, for example, those costs start to stack up. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's kind of the path we're taking. Path we're
Yeah,
taking.
that is awesome. So I think you've actually done a really good job to our viewers to really want to know and why they should be talking to us about Parallels and looking at that for their future. But if you want to have a closing statement as to why they should be looking at Parallels and integrating into their current application delivery strategy.
It's all about choice, retain choice. I always say this to people, whatever you choose to do, always think about plan B. Okay. We've seen in the past 5 years, things have gone very unexpectedly for some vendors, some solutions, some services, and some customers have been on the receiving end of that. That could happen to any vendor and any solution. So think, right, this is my primary delivery method, but what happens if that primary delivery method needs to change? And that's why we are so pro on that choice message, right? So we could deliver Azure, but we could deliver AWS, we could deliver on-prem, we could go to any one of these locations, right?
Yeah, that is awesome. I thank you for joining us, Chris, especially as it's hitting late in your hours. This
Totally
was
fine.
really good, and I hope that the our listeners and viewers really take hold to what you're saying and how you have that flexibility of parallels, and we're able to have more conversations. And again, if we're looking to have a deep dive into some of the solutions that Chris talked to, we'll love to have that conversation with you. So again, thank you, Chris, and thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Donovan. Thanks, everybody.